and it's time for Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard. And tonight we've got Captain Travis Thompson in studio with us tonight. What's up, man?
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good to have you. Good to have you. For those of you who tune in to our Real Animals radio show, you've seen and heard from Captain Travis Thompson before on the radio. But on the radio shows, we don't really have a chance to kind of dig deep. We get interrupted with commercial breaks and people calling in, so we don't really have a continuous conversation opportunity. So tonight's going to be fun to really get a chance to dig deep with Captain Travis and allflorida.org. Allflorida.org, right?
Allfla.org.
Allfla.org. So allflorida, allfla.org is where you can find him and his cohort of, what do you call it? You call it like a team, right? You're building your team. Yeah.
Build a team, yeah.
Yeah, I went to dinner with this guy and his team at the recent FWC commission meeting, and I felt like I was explaining it to Mike Anderson on the radio. I think it was on break during the radio this past Saturday. That movie, The Dinner of Extraordinary Gentlemen or whatever.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Where like everybody at the dinner had like some kind of crazy superpower. That's what I felt like it was at, a dinner table. I'm like looking around, I'm like, what am I doing here? It was crazy. It was cool. It's cool. So Travis affiliates with some really, really cool people. We're going to dig into that a little bit tonight and ask him a little bit more about what he does in the landscape conservation space and a little bit more about what's going on now, state level, social sciences. We're going to dig into a couple different things. So a little bit of a unique show tonight, but also we are going to be talking a little bit more about what's going on now. We're talking a little bit about weather, and of course, we're going to show you what we've been catching too. So we're going to start the show like normal, then we're going to get into a conversation with Captain Travis. We're still going to give away over $1,500 in free stuff tonight, so stay tuned. Make sure you comment at least one time in order for a chance to win. Remember, you have to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win something free tonight. And then you got to watch the show live and claim your free winnings within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. So watch live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Trovo, on Twitch, on TikTok, on Instagram, wherever you want to watch live. But you do have to comment at least once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to have a chance to win. Now, want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't checked them out yet, make sure you do so. Stop by, tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you, and you'll get a free gift. Also want to give a shout out to our friends in our supporters group, making the shows possible, making all this possible. Big shout out to all our supporters out there. If you're not a part of the supporters group, it's only $4.99 a month. You can become a member tonight. Josh is going to drop the link there in the chat for y'all, and you get access to our private after show, the supporters after show, plus you get a little bit more behind the scenes content and a little bit more connectivity and advance notice of some things. So check it out, become a supporter, and then also want to make sure, of course, we give a shout out to those who have sent stars so far tonight. We had Larry White with a big 500 stars to get us kicked off, Stephen Batchelor, Keith White, Nick Nieves with a big 1,200. Todd Stutzman. James McCullum with 500. Thanks, buddy. Rich Fletcher, what's going on, my friend? LaShonda, appreciate you. Adam Franklin with a big 800. Ryan Kelly, what's up, buddy? Terry Feather. Rich Blazak. Appreciate all you guys who are sending stars and helping to fuel the show as well. Anthony Barnes, what's going on, dude? So, want to make sure we get into the photos and show you guys what we're catching now. Then we'll get into weather, and then we're going to get into a conversation with Captain Travis. So, first things first, let's start inshore and show you guys what we're catching inshore. Then we'll work our way near shore and offshore. So, as you can see here, some nice mangrove snapper. If you haven't seen it yet, after the show is over, make sure you pop over to our Instagram page. And I don't know, maybe Josh will try after we finish looking at photos. I should have given him a heads up, but we'll try to see if we can pull it up here and show you guys the story, the Instagram story and Facebook story and TikTok story and Snapchat story of the Hubbard's Marina page is epic. At high tide today, dude, the water clarity on the dock around Johns Pass was spectacular, like
Really?
18-foot visibility. And we had just dumped the carcasses from the 39-hour trips once all the pelicans had disappeared. So there's just carcass field everywhere of all these snappers that we had just cut up. And it was epic, man. Like, it started with pinfish, then it was spot tails, then it was little baby mangroves, then it was spadefish, then it was schools of sheep's head, then it was snook, then it was tarpon. Then it was dolphins. It was crazy. I'm sitting in my office working, and I look up at the security camera. I was like, "What is all that in the slip? What's going on out there?" And I walk out to the dock. I was like,
Just a frenzy.
it was a frenzy, and it was crystal clear. You could see everything. It's really cool. So I filmed it with my cell phone. It's up on our Instagram and Facebook stories. We'll see if we can pull it up for you guys and show you live. But if not, you can always catch it right on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Here's Scott Sadorf and his grandkids showing off a nice snook out there on the beach. This is also one of Scott's grandchildren. Some nice fishing action for the Sadorf family. Definitely a lot of beach snook.
That's my favorite.
It's
Beach
fun,
snooking.
man. Beach snook is definitely one of my favorite things. And I was blessed to grow up fishing with Scott on the beach, chasing him around. So I know some of his secret spots. But he is a fishy cat. And beach snook fishing is going really well right now. But you can get these snook right inside Johns Pass. There's a lot of snook action going on early morning. If you can get out there before the sun rises, the bite has been crazy. And even through kind of mid-morning, like 8, 9 o'clock, the bite was still pretty good around Johns Pass today. So
Looks like they're live baiting.
live baiting, yep. Primarily sight casting those snook in those little troughs.
Right off the beach.
Yeah, right. The troughs that run parallel with the beach. Sight fishing with either shrimp in some areas, whitebait in some areas, or the old pinfish.
I used to tell people it's the first step down.
Yeah.
Wherever the first step is, that's where they'll be.
I always say it as, you know how you're walking out to the surf and you kind of trip?
That's where they'll be.
That's where they're hiding out. And that's the Snook Highway. And you get a really good pair of sunglasses. And the e-bikes almost make it cheating.
Yeah,
my buddy at Dogfish Tackle, I saw him one day in Johns Pass, and he's got an e-bike, and he's got like 3 rods strapped to his back like an archer. I was like, dude, what are you doing? He was like, man, it's 2023, man. This is how I beach snook fish. So he rides down the beach standing up on his e-bike with really good sunglasses and a hat, finds the snook, gets up ahead of him, gets off his bike, sets up, and starts casting where those snook are going to be.
He knows right where they're at.
And the snook come right to him. It's real easy. Pretty crazy. Inshore, around the Back Bay waters, we've definitely seen the redfish start to school up, become a little bit more active. Starting to see some pretty decent schools of redfish, which is really early. It's super hot still, mostly hunting redfish in the trees. But our friend Captain Jason Preto sent us an inshore report, a video report. It's up on our YouTube channel. It was posted to our Facebook channel, and Josh, I believe, emailed it out tonight to those of you who are on our email newsletter list. So our weekly fishing reports are now in video format. Plus, of course, we're putting them in written format for you guys as well. So make sure you catch that video. Captain Jason Preto talks a lot about the redfish. But basically, it's mostly an early morning bite or kind of after dusk bite around the flats and oyster bars. And then during the heat of the day, they're up in the trees or kind of on those edges. Is that kind of what you're thinking too?
Yeah, high tide, find them in the trees. Or fish early, fish late.
Yeah, trying to get out there before the sun rises has been working really well. Fishing those dock lights, some of the bigger fish, definitely cut dead bait working well. Here's our buddy Luke with a nice shark. He's been hammering the near shore. He fishes early. I was talking to him at ICAST, picking his brain. He said he gets out there before the sun rises and fishes the flats, long casts with the surface walker or the moon walker and his skinny lipper lure. And then once the sun starts coming up, he starts fishing the edges of the flats, the edges of the oyster bars, the potholes. And then once the sun's up, he totally leaves inshore and either goes to a deep water pass or he starts fishing near shore artificial reefs.
Luke's a heck of a fisherman, man.
Yeah, fishy cat. Definitely. And another Salt Strong Insider member showing off a nice big snook. The tarpon are around still. Definitely a lot of tarpon still in the area. At night around dock lights, bridge lights. During the day, we're still seeing them around the passes. There's our good friend Luke and his better half showing off a nice big tarpon. Some big trout, fat trout around. Trout are mostly at night around dock lights, bridge lights, or around the passes, deeper areas. Near shore artificial reefs, big snook. This is the time of year they're out there spawning. Big trout from our friends over at Salt Strong too. So some good opportunities all the way around inshore right now. Plus, we're on that full moon. Full moon typically means a better outgoing tide bite. And we've definitely been seeing a lot of moving water picking up. The tide was screaming today in Johns Pass.
Pouring out.
Screaming. It was a beautiful, crystal clear, gorgeous high tide. 2 hours later, it was dark green, back bay, just smoking outbound tide. So it is definitely that time with that full moon, creates a lot of moving water, creates a lot of flushing bait, and thus a lot of actively feeding fish. Now we're going to work our way near shore and offshore. We had a very successful shark trip the other night. They caught it was either 9 sharks and 11 Goliath grouper, or it was vice versa, where it was 9 Goliaths and 11 sharks. It was crazy, super active night. A lot of times they were doubled and tripled up. So really active shark population right now, biting well on those shark trips and near shore private fishing charters. We're still seeing a lot of those red grouper. Unfortunately, red grouper season has come to a close. It's not actually that season came to a close. It's that the quota was projected to be met. And a lot of people are kind of upset about that, and it's obviously very frustrating and upsetting to us too, but it is a good sign of things, right? It's showing the fishery is healthy, we're catching them much quicker, and they need to be closed because we're catching so many so fast that are so heavy. So kind of a negative and a positive on the red grouper front, but hopefully the science will catch up to what we're seeing on the water, and we'll see a nice long 12-month red grouper fishery return soon, but definitely something we are paying close attention to. And 2 weeks from now, we'll be in Austin, Texas, for a federal fisheries meeting.
Awesome.
Hopefully, hearing some good news about that red grouper fishing. Amberjack season starts up
tomorrow.
Tuesday, August 1st. August 1st, amberjack season opens up. We're also seeing a lot of big triggerfish right now, too, and they open up August 1st as well. Huge hogfish. Look at that hogfish. Stud. They caught this one on the flying hub, too, while fishing very deep water.
I'd like to see the after picture of that, too.
Oh, man. I don't think there is an after picture. It got ate fast. That's one of those that you don't let hit the plate. You just eat it while it's finishing up. Some nice big pelagics lately. We've been seeing a few blackfin tuna, a few kingfish, a lot of mahi around too. We're seeing some somewhat near shore red snapper. We're catching them as close as 35, 40 miles on the hub. We're seeing a lot of red snapper on the flying hub too. Remember, our red snapper season is contiguous. I was talking about this today with a charter guy. It's kind of hard to explain red snapper season and not really make people angry, because it's like, oh, yeah, your red snapper season's over, but you're allowed to fish with us until the 24th. And people get upset, like, oh, why can't private recreational anglers catch red snapper until August 24th? But the flip side of it is, as a private recreational angler, you got to remember that come October and November, you're going to have private recreational red snapper weekends that we're not going to be able to fish. And you are going to be able to fish that weekend, and you're going to have gag grouper open. So private recreational anglers are going to be able to go out on the weekends in October and November and take part in red snapper that we're not going to be able to take part in. And then you guys are also going to be able to keep gags. So yes, our red snapper season, and when I say ours, I mean federally permitted for hire guys.
Right.
Our season goes till August 24th, end of day. So you can come fish with us for red snapper, but you can't on a private boat. So it is kind of messed up, but at the same time, that private boat come a weekend in October, you're going to be able to go catch red snapper and gag grouper, and we're not going to be able to catch red snapper. We're only going to be able to go out there and catch
if I remember correctly, that was an important conversation, wanting to overlap of red snapper and gags.
The big Governor DeSantis announces red snapper season. That's what FWC Commission and the governor has been pushing for, and really CCA, ASA, those guys have really been pushing the state to do, is lengthen the red snapper and increase access over a longer period. Because if they kept it like the federal for hire season and opened it the same time as us, closed it similar to us, you wouldn't get that longer push into the fall.
Right.
And they want less time in the summer, and a balance in the fall. Oh, look, Josh was able to pull it up. Can we share this, Josh? So this is
that at the docks?
Yeah, so this is what I was talking about, the Facebook story. This is on our Facebook and YouTube channel, and it is crazy clear. It looks a little bit better on your phone, so definitely check it out on your phone, but it was stellar. And you can come see this tomorrow at high tide inside Johns Pass. I mean, it's just nothing but snook.
You can see the snook, you can see the tarpon.
Yeah, dude, it was absolutely crazy how many fish were in there. And there's 3 versions of this. Oh no, I think it just put it all together. But there was
some good snook down there too.
Yeah, Brian Harris, our bait guy, comes running in my office. He's like, Dylan, you got to come out here. I was like, what's wrong? He's like, dude, there's a 9-pound mangrove snapper under the dock. I was like, no, there's not. And I went out there, and there was a big mangrove snapper under there. It's just totally loaded with fish. It's absolutely insane how many snook were out there. When I first walked out there, it was just snook everywhere. And then I was standing there for a minute, and a big tarpon came by, and the snook disappeared. It was pretty funny. But definitely chaotic and crazy, and definitely worth a closer look when you have time at the stories from today, because it's going to be awesome. You're going to enjoy it for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and give away a free trip. Then we'll get into the weather, and then we'll get into conversation here. So first things first, let's go ahead. We've got our 5-hour half day for 2 guests to give away, a 10-hour all day for 2 guests to give away, and our Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and the 39-hour trip for 1 guest. So let's go ahead and give away the 10-hour all day for 2 guests to start. We'll start it off with the 10-hour all day. Lucky winner is TJ Donatelli. Congratulations.
Congrats.
TJ Donatelli from Newport Richey. You are the lucky winner of the 10-hour all day for 2. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip by texting us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. So make sure you text us within 5 minutes to claim that free trip, and that way we can make sure we can give it to you, and text us your address so that way we can mail you that certificate. All right, let's get into the weather and show you guys what we're seeing weather-wise. So we're going to pop on over to hubbardsmarina.com, and on our website here under Fishing Trips, we're going to scroll down to the Weather Links page. This brings us to our handy-dandy Weather Links page. We're going to start on the Wind Finder forecast, the 5 and 10-hour forecast area. You can see very clearly lots of dark blues. Dark blues are nice. That means very moderate wind, less than 10 miles an hour. And no real big spikes except for maybe some afternoon showers. So looks like an extremely hot.
Yeah, still and hot.
Bone-crushingly, oppressively hot, but good weather for fishing. So not much seas, not much wind, just a pretty steady rain chance. Some overcast conditions possible the second half of the week, which honestly we would welcome. Some overcast conditions.
Yeah.
It is definitely no way around it. No way to sugarcoat it. It is extremely hot out there. So we're gonna move offshore and show you guys what we're seeing offshore weather-wise. So that was the inshore report first. Offshore, it's even calmer, believe it or not. Once you get away from land, so land gets so hot during the day. Actually, near shore, there's more of a chance of storms. There's more of a chance of breeze. Once you get offshore into the Lake of Mexico, as we have so affectionately named it lately, it is absolutely just still, breathless, if you will.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Less than basically 7 miles an hour. There you go. Saturday, 2 miles an hour.
Yeah. There was a 1 up there somewhere. Right there.
Thursday morning, 0 to 1 miles an hour.
You don't see that a lot.
No. You don't see purples and pinks on here too often. But, yeah, look at Wednesday. It is 1 mile an hour from 8 to midday, basically. Wow. So extremely, extremely hot, breathless, and a lot of current. We have been seeing a lot of current. We saw a lot of current again today. So current is something we are battling, but no wind, no sea condition, just a lot of moving water, which has helped the fishing. The fishing's been going really well. We're going to pop on over to our Weather Links page again and then show you guys what we're seeing as far as long-range forecast models by going to our friends at Mike's weather page, spaghettimodels.com.
Does anybody use anything but Mike's weather page?
If they do, they're stupid.
Yeah, like
no, I mean, I live on this website page. This is definitely our favorite. That's why we have it linked right here under the ultimate storm forecast on our weather links page. But it's spaghettimodels.com or Mike's weather page. You can Google it. I always scroll down here and look at the prog charts. So we'll start with tomorrow. So tomorrow, we still have that kind of frontal boundary that's kind of hanging around the state. It's been there for like a week now, and that's what's been causing a lot of our rain chances. We have this high pressure kind of weekly sitting over here, and not much is changing. So forecast is going to kind of stay the same. That was tomorrow. We just showed you this is day after tomorrow. So this is Tuesday. We're going to get into Wednesday now. So not much really changing. This is Wednesday. This is Thursday. So again, nothing really changing
just
all
kinda
week.
Stalled right there.
Yeah, stalled out. It's not really doing much of anything. And then it looks like finally in the weekend, it's going to start backing off a little bit, maybe. Mm-hmm. No, it's still kind of hanging there. So really for the next 7 days, we still see the same pattern. And this is what it is. This is what's kind of being created. That low pressure is kind of hanging out over here. There was actually quite a bit of rotation. Now there's no rotation really. It's just a lot of storms. It's just creating a lot of moisture over land. And you can see how all of this is over land. That's
right.
Because of the heating. So the heating of the day causes the land to warm up a lot. The water around us is super hot. Everything is hot. And
that convection.
Yeah, it's really interesting kind of how it's working. But creating a lot of rain, and we need the rain. We haven't had a lot of rain.
We need the rain.
Especially for duck hunters.
Yep, especially for duck ranching. We need the rain.
So basically, as far as the weather outlook goes, it is going to be extremely hot. Not a lot of wind, not a lot of seas. Rain chances are going to be there pretty high throughout the period, but shouldn't affect us really too much as far as getting trips out there. So that's what we're looking at weather-wise. We showed you what we're catching now. The biggest thing I want to remind you guys of is we've got 24 days left of this red snapper season, and it's definitely starting to weaken up as far as demand goes. Our 39-hour left today with only 33 people on it. Tuesday's 39-hour has like 32 people on it. 27, actually. 27. So numbers are lowering. Demand is lowering, so there's plenty of room.
Still plenty of fish.
Still tons of fish. The second and third week of August, our extreme trips have like 4 and 5 and 6 people on them. So super light loads on the 39 hours, the 12-hour extremes. Plenty of opportunity to get out there and get some red snapper. Today's 12-hour extreme trip caught a boat limit, like 160 big vermilions in the 4 and 5 and 6 pound range. Monster vermilion snapper and tons of them. The other day they got 28 keeper scamp grouper, and this is along with a boat limit of red snapper. Right. So we're limiting out on red snapper. We're catching plenty of other heads and tails along with it. You can't keep your red grouper, you can't keep your gag grouper, but there's plenty of other fish to catch. And then starting Tuesday, August 1st, we'll be able to get triggerfish again.
And AJs.
And we'll still see some nice scamp. We'll still see plenty of vermilions, porgies, almacos, lots of other fish. We're seeing yellowtails. We're seeing the occasional mutton snapper. Really, more mutton snapper and more yellowtails than I've ever seen in my whole life.
Really?
Ever.
I've heard that from a lot of people.
Yeah, spatial
don't know
expansion.
what it is, but yeah, the yellowtails seem to be thicker further north.
Yeah, I mean, 6 years ago, the South Atlantic Council solely managed yellowtail snapper. There was no Gulf Council really component. Now, Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council and the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council started to split management of yellowtail snapper because they started coming into the Keys so heavily and started moving north of the Keys. Now they're talking about totally creating a Gulf Council management structure and including yellowtail snapper in our fishery management plans in the Gulf and splitting the quota between Gulf and South Atlantic because we have so many yellowtail snapper landings.
That's a good problem to have.
It's a really good problem to have. The fishery is exploding. It's expanding spatially or expanding in the area that it normally is. So it's really cool. Really cool to see. There's some positive news on the fishing front as far as yellowtail snapper is concerned. So want to quickly give a shout out to some of those who are sending stars here in the interim. We had Anthony Barnes. We had D Beers with a big 1,000 stars. Thank you, D. Tim Harris with a big 500. Christine Schrock with 200. Thank you guys very much for that. So we talked about weather, we talked about fishing, we talked about the light loads. Don't forget as well, we got a lot of events coming up this month. We have Tuesday night, this coming Tuesday, Bartow Ford with Captain Mike Anderson and Captain Lisa Fitzgerald, the Hall of Famer from CCA Florida.
I may go to that just to hug Lisa's neck.
Yeah, she's pretty
I
awesome.
haven't seen her since ICAST, but anytime you can be that close to her and see her.
She's a Hall of Famer.
She's incredible. She's a Hall of Famer just at life, though.
Yeah, she really is. Super nice lady. And that's Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. at Bartow Ford. There's free food, free drinks, free prizes from Engel Coolers, from Bull Bay Rods, some real animal swag. It's going to be worth going out there at Bartow Ford, 6 to 8 p.m. this Tuesday. Then this coming Saturday, August 5th, there is a Real Animals happy hour at Barfly in Safety Harbor. Really, really cool restaurant bar, and if you buy a Real Animals Catch beer, you get a raffle ticket. There's going to be tons of prizes there, and a good time hanging out with Captain Mike. I'm going to try to make it with my wife as well. And then, of course, we've got Bass Pro at August 27th at 2 p.m. Coming up. That is Sunday, August 27th at 2 p.m. And then Friday, August 25th is our next crawfish boil, final Friday, so join us for that. And then from there, I think that's all our August events.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you got.
Just 4. No big deal. That's all we have coming up in August. So make sure you join us for those events. And with that, we are going to get into some discussions. So that's pretty funny. The first question is, can you clarify the new rules at the Skyway Fishing Pier? I don't want to talk about the Skyway.
Oh, my God.
I really don't.
I'm so tired of talking about the Skyway.
I'm burnt out on the Skyway.
I'm with you on that.
Funny stuff that happened out there, and that happened with that whole rulemaking process, really. But to sum it up, to answer your question, the new rules are it's going to be a mandatory educational class, kind of like the shore-based shark fishing thing, where you're going to have to take a little course. It's going to be 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it's basically going to teach you that if you hook a pelican, don't freak out and cut the line.
How to
deal with
a hooked pelican.
Real simple, real easy. Yeah, don't lean too far.
Don't lean back.
Rule number 1, sorry. And then also we are the other part of it is there is a gear restriction for only 4 months. It was a 2-2 vote away from being a 12-month gear restriction. So it was very close to being a 12-month gear restriction.
Sabikis, chicken rigs, and treble hooks.
Yeah, so no double hook rigs basically for 4 months of the year from November 15th to March 15th on the Skyway piers. But no area closures, no possession limits. I mean, we really dodged some big bullets and worked really hard to make sure that more draconian measures weren't discussed.
Yeah, that came very close to being a
12-month.
At one point, there was a quarter-mile section of the pier that was going to be closed.
Yeah, the whole end of the South Pier was in proposed rule, in rulemaking. And a lot of people are saying, oh, that was never proposed. Yeah, it was never proposed formally in a commission meeting, but the staff put it in writing. It was in the rule.
So quarter-mile closure and year-round gear restrictions. So,
it wasn't...
Obviously, we don't like any rule. Like we don't like regulations or restrictions on fishing.
Yeah.
To some degree. But that was a win coming out of that.
Huge
because
win.
It came it came that close.
It was a 2-2 vote. It was a 2-2 vote. And the people that voted against it, the 2 commissioners that voted against it, were people that Travis and I and everybody else there in the room that were fighting for that had close personal relationships with. And that's the reason, in my opinion, that we were able to stop a 12-month closure or a 12-month gear restriction and an area closure on the pier. And they were talking about limiting 3 rods in your possession. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
we got that
at one
changed.
point it was going to be in possession. So the rule did change to where you can only use 2 at once.
Yeah.
Two attended rods. But you could have, so if you want to stop there and catch bait and you had 20 rods in your truck, you can do that.
Yeah.
Versus at one point there was a talk about limiting the number of rods in possession. That would have been
horrendous.
Yeah, that would have been a ticket if you had 20 rods in your truck and you'd have to get rid of them somewhere to go to the Skyway.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
So basically the new rules at the Skyway is you can only use 2 rods at once. You can only use 2 attended rods at once. So you can't put out 10 rods, which I don't know why you would use more than 2 at once anyway.
I think it was 3 through a DEP rule anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's really only 1 more restrictive. And then there's a 4-month gear restriction from November 15th to March 15th. There's the mandatory educational component, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, so
that's all I remember.
Huge win, in my opinion, but some people think otherwise. But hey, it is what it is.
Well, yeah, and that's really kind of, we had talked about the other day, the idea of social science.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the application of social science to the rulemaking process.
Yeah,
which can get pretty convoluted, and you can get in the weeds on it. But that's really what we saw unfold there.
And what a lot of people got confused about, in my opinion, was the fact that there was so many bureaucracies in the mix. It's a DOT structure that was created to be a bridge, not a fishing pier.
Yep.
And then it was adapted to be a fishing pier. Then DEP had control over it. They put it out to RFP to a private business, private concessionaire. So it's a private concessionaire business under a DEP contract with FDOT property with FWC rules.
Yep.
And it just, you can see by that short explanation how many jurisdictions are in the mix and how confusing it can get and how much political pressure is behind the scenes. And that's essentially what was happening. When you mentioned social sciences, to boil that down, is basically political pressures and opinions.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk social science is basically any collection of data. I'm not a scientist, but it's any collection of data that's not biological.
Mm-hmm.
So economics is a social science. Like, what's an economic driver?
Yeah.
Political science is a social science. Polling, public opinion, like, you could go way down the road. There's a lot of social sciences and disciplines out there. And what we saw is on the Pelican side, there was a lot of conversation around science at the Skyway.
Yeah.
We don't have the data. Why are you closing it without the data? And so there's been a lot of pushback that says, well, we're going to push back on FWC because they can't close this rule because they don't have the data.
Mm-hmm.
But the simple fact is, because they're a stakeholder-driven agency, because everyone in the state's a stakeholder, there has to be a social science application to the rulemaking process.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily love that. I wish we could just look at science every time to make decisions, but it's not the world we live in. Mm-hmm. And so you end up with social science getting taken into account. And in that case, you start to negotiate on how this is going to work out.
Instead of falling back on real rational data and saying X plus Y equals Z, they have to look at more of, it's a stakeholder-driven thing, and everybody in the state of Florida is a stakeholder. So the sweet old woman in Tampa who gets served an ad by an advocacy group of a dead pelican hanging from a tree rotting, sees that, gets outraged, and calls for a closure of the Skyway fishing pier. She has a voice, just like the fishermen who pay to get on that pier have a voice. Now, do you believe they should be equal? One has a fishing license he pays for, or she pays for. One that buys fishing tackle that gives Nifwith money. I mean, whether they're equal is a different conversation, but they're both stakeholders.
I think that's a really good conversation that needs to happen in our state. But if you look at FWC as a whole entity and how they're funded, a lot of their funding comes through things like gas taxes, which everybody pays gas taxes. There's a dock stamp on the sale of houses.
Yep.
That if you've bought a house, you've contributed money to FWC for wildlife management. So used to, we would say, oh, I bought my hunting license, I bought my fishing license, I'm paying for conservation. And we do. That's still considered in that conversation.
We pay more for conservation.
But in theory, everyone in the state, through what's called the doctrine of public trust, is a stakeholder equally in wildlife. And so if that's the case, there's going to be more and more of these we call it the human dimensions of wildlife management.
And that's the problem when you look at an FWC commission meeting and you see something like black bears on the agenda or pelicans at the Skyway on the agenda, going to the meeting that it's going to suck because it's going to be overrun with people that aren't really outdoorsmen, aren't really in the fishery, aren't really in hunting. They are purely there to bang on their agenda of you can't kill a cute, cuddly, charismatic megafauna. like a black bear.
Well, it's funny because I used to say I don't like social science. That's like saying I don't like science, because you can't. Social science isn't a thing you believe in or don't believe in. It exists. Yeah. Economics exists, right?
Yeah.
I may not like inflation.
Yeah.
I may not like the way something's happening economically, but I believe in economics. Like that's not a questionable thing.
Yeah.
And so, if you look, like we use social science all the time in regulations.
Yeah.
All the time. Like when we go and we say, man, let me pick something. If we were to go say, I'm not saying we would do this, but if we were to go say, I want to keep 2 redfish in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And FWC looked at the regulations and determined that there was enough. They would take that into account in determining those regulations because the stakeholders want it. If they don't think it would impact the stock, they would allow it to happen. Social science is how much we want to harvest.
Yeah. And that's why what you're saying right there is what infuriates me about this whole thing of the Skyway. Is if you sat in that meeting where you and I sat, you would have thought for sure they were going to close the pier.
I thought it was going to get closed.
Or it was going to have a 12-month gear restriction, or they were going to close half the pier, because a majority of people that showed up to that meeting all wanted year-round closures, all wanted the whole closed pier. I mean, there was a lot of angry stakeholders that wanted way more than they gave.
And I was really proud of how FWC navigated it. And, I've gotten accused of being, like, on their team. And I think FWC does a good job, but I think you could ask a lot of their staff. They'll say, man, Travis has picked fights with us plenty in his life. But at the end of the day, they had to navigate between 2 disparate stakeholder groups. And here's the other. Who pays for, like, a red snapper count? Does that come through federal dollars, or does
the Great Red Snapper count was a Senate appropriation?
Okay, it was a Senate line item.
Yeah.
A lot of research that is done at a state agency, like inland, or in state waters,
is all through FWRI.
Is fun, and it's funded in large part through either a legislative budget request or fishing license dollars.
Okay.
Right, hunting license dollars.
Yeah.
So when we sat down and I looked at the data on the pelicans, I was like, wait a second, I got questions here. Like, I deal with ducks. So I run a big duck hunting operation. And so
the largest in the state.
I know a lot about bird mortality. I don't know much about pelicans, but I know a lot about birds.
Yeah.
When you get into kind of the weeds on that, we have tons of data on ducks because sportsmen have been paying for duck research for 70 years. We have tons of data on, let's say, snook in Tampa Bay because FWRI has an office there, and sportsmen have been paying license fees that go to help fund those kind of projects. If you get into the pelican data, we all like to say that's terrible data, and I hear that, and I don't love the data that we have. At the same time, who's going to pay for the data to be done on pelican research?
You have a point, because there's no pelican hunting season. And all the stakeholder groups screaming about pelicans don't pony up. There's no pelican bird watching license.
Well, they don't pony up to the state, but they do go collect data. Now, I didn't love one group's involvement in that data collection at all. But if you look at a group like Audubon, I have lots of friends at Audubon, and Audubon's a pretty respected organization nationally and in state.
So they pay to go collect that data, but it's self-collected.
It's self-collected data.
So is there a bias there?
I'm sure there is, but directionally there's probably some effect that's occurring until we figure out ways, and I can't believe I'm saying this as a hunter-fisherman, but until we figure out ways that we can determine data on some of these non-game species, these non-take species, we're going to have to live with sometimes these rules with what we attached to that was we wanted a sunset.
Exactly.
And we wanted data collection as part of this process so that we could determine in 2 years, can we turn this off or not? And
you just hit a big point that we forgot to mention is, so we talked about the rules of the Skyway, but a big win as a part of those rules is it's a 2-year limited time rule, basically. In 2 years, they're supposed to reevaluate it. And really during this discussion, they talked about evaluating it even sooner. And then also, the FWC is going to have a full-time staff member out there collecting their own data. So now they're going to be building their own FWC-funded data. So some pretty cool stuff as far as the pelican situation.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be that any data that's collected has... If you or I go collect data and we're sorting through fish, we may have a bias because, that looks like a snook, and you toss it. There's always human
Yeah.
But that data is going to be really good, clean data, and it's going to tell us something.
And it's going to be unbiased because it's going to be collected by FWC.
You know, I have questions.
Or less biased.
Looking at bird mortality out there in the world, I have questions about, do we see entanglements go up because we see an increase in pelican?
Yeah.
Like, juveniles are usually we're going to see the impact. So there's other questions that can even domino.
More pelicans means more entanglements.
That's exactly right.
And there's more pelicans today than there ever has been in our lifetime.
And then something else, God, I didn't want to talk about pelicans. You didn't either, but something else in that conversation is to a person, Humane Society, Hubbard's Marina, Travis, All Florida, CCA, we all agreed, man, it would be lovely if we could do some deterrence. If we could knock down the old span where they roost, if we could do some kind of deterrent methods. But that's not FWC's rulemaking purview.
Yep.
Like, there was a whole nother dynamic to that.
But FWC did talk about that, and they're going to send a letter to FDOT, and that's an FDOT FDAP question is, can they do some deterrence? So some very, very interesting stuff, and definitely a lot more to come for sure. We are going to give away another trip, and then we're going to get into some questions and some more questions. Let's see. We gave away a 10-hour all-day for 2. Let's do a 5-hour half-day for 2. Lucky winner of the 5-hour half-day for 2 is Luann Bieberly. Congratulations from Winter Haven.
Hometown. That's my hometown.
Yeah, it is. Look at that.
Do you think I rigged it somehow?
I don't know. No hands.
I don't know, Luann, but that's awesome.
That's awesome. Winter Haven. We have a lot of people over in Winter Haven.
Winter Haven's home of me, and it's home of Saltstrong.
It is. It's a good city.
Yeah, it's like the nexus of the universe.
Good bass fishing over there.
Great bass fishing over there. Chain of lakes.
Yeah, there's 554 lakes.
Is that real?
Polk County.
Polk County has 554. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Ron at Ron's Tackle Box taught me that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of good, helpful knowledge.
Did you know that Polk County is the fastest growing county in the state of Florida?
Because there's no room left in Pinellas County.
Pinellas is the densest.
Densely populated state or county in the state. Crazy. So Polk County is the fastest growing county?
In Florida, and it's the 5th fastest growing county in the United States.
Wow.
I don't love
need
that,
to
by
buy
the way.
some.
But
Need to buy some land out there.
Jared wants to
Note to self. Yeah. He's moving again, by the way. I meant to tell you that. Yes, he is. Jared, part of our Hubbard's Marina media team, he has moved like probably 8 times, and he's worked here for like maybe 2.5 years. It's crazy.
And now he wants to move to Winter Haven.
No, he's moving. He told me over to St. Pete, but
okay.
It's crazy. He moves like every 4 months. It's ridiculous. All right, so next question. Is the hot water making fish bite more or less? It is crazy how hot it's getting, man. Did you hear what happened to all those coral nurseries in the Keys?
Bleaching?
Dude.
They're bleaching out.
They bleached like almost all the nurseries.
Yeah.
Because they talked about this at the last FWC Commission meeting, too, about how the stony coral tissue loss disease has been going on since 2014, and they still have no idea what's caused it. Since 2014, this pathogen is causing stony coral tissue loss disease, this crazy disease in corals, in stony corals, to be specific, in shallow water. Started in 2014 in southeast Florida. It's spread all the way through the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary and is now into the Caribbean. And it's killed millions of colonies of coral to the point where they spent a bunch of money to then make out all these crazy little coral colonies and start outplanting corals to try to offset the stony coral tissue loss disease spreading rampantly through Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. They have all these little estuaries set, all these little baby corals, and water temperatures just bleached and killed all of them.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
Surface temp in the Keys was 101 or something.
Yeah, I believe it reached 102 in Manatee Bay, which is the north side of Key Largo there.
I have a friend that's in
Upper
FWRI.
Florida.
She works for FWRI doing coral research, and like every day she was posting pictures of the corals, like the bleaching occurring, and I was like, I'm gonna have to unfollow you. This is depressing.
It's depressing.
I didn't because we're friends, but
yeah, it's really scary, kind of what's going on down in the Keys and how hot the water is getting. And regardless, we're not going to get into the politics and the discussion about it. I think one thing that really is contributing to it this year specifically is we have a Pacific El Nino and an Atlantic El Nino. And both of those means the Pacific El Nino has all the warm water from China, the Philippines, Indonesia, Hawaii, all that's coming and moving east and pushing up against the west coast there. And then the Atlantic El Nino is pushing all the warm water from Africa and all that all the way into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. So on both sides of the state of Florida, we're getting all the hottest water from the globe. And then on top of that, we had a really, really, really lame winter this year.
Yeah.
We've had no spring rainy season. So we haven't had any rain. We haven't had, we didn't have a good winter at all. And now we have 2 El Nino effects on both sides of us. So it's going to be hot no matter what you think is going on in the global scenario.
Where are you at on that with it affecting fishing?
We're seeing spatial expansion of yellowtail snapper. We're seeing spatial expansion of cobia. They're catching cobia in Cape Cod. They're catching kingfish north of North Carolina, man. So we're seeing stocks expand further north, and we're seeing it more so in the South Atlantic, Mid-Atlantic, and North Atlantic, where those fish are unrestricted. In the Gulf, we're kind of encapsulated, thankfully. Right. And fish can't really move that far, and we are the beneficiaries in Central West Florida, because a lot of these Keys fish like schoolmaster snapper, dog snapper, yellowtail snapper, mutton snapper that we didn't really have, now we have. And we haven't lost any fish. If anything, we've gained fish.
Yeah.
So we've been a beneficiary of this spatial expansion of differing species. But other areas like off of New England, their anchovy fishery collapsed. Their salmon fishery collapsed. Now they're catching freaking kingfish and cobia and mahi-mahi off of New England. It's crazy.
But do you think, I think what Paul's asking is, do you think it helps the bite or it hurts the bite when it's as hot as it's been lately, as stays as it's been lately?
I think right now what's saving us is the current.
Yeah.
The current, the loop eddies, the current's been treacherous and annoying, but the current's kind of helping it. Because if it was just stagnant air, stagnant water, I think the bite would suffer. But fishing in 120 foot of water, it's a lot cooler on the bottom than it is at the surface.
Yeah, I don't know if I would...
But I think it's going to severely affect our pelagic species, like amberjack. We haven't had a good amberjack. We have a 3-week amberjack season this year because the amberjack population in the Gulf is almost gone.
Plummeted.
Yeah, and I think they're all moving to the South Atlantic, staying in cooler waters. Cobia, almost gone in the Gulf of Mexico. Kingfish, mackerel, almost gone in the Gulf of Mexico. I think a lot of those species are leaving. So I think anything with a strong, fast-moving tail, like a pelagic, coastal migratory pelagics, open water pelagics, billfish, those kind of things, I think they're going to start leaving.
Huh.
Orcas in Florida is not weird. So everybody's freaking out about those orcas that were spotted in Key Largo. Orcas have been in the Gulf of Mexico since the 60s. My grandfather, Wilson, used to see orcas almost all the time. My father... Captain Mark has seen orcas on long-range trips before. So the fact that they have orcas in the Keys is not weird.
Yeah.
Not weird at all.
I thought the same thing. Everybody was freaking out over that, sharing that video. And I was like, it's neat. It's always neat to see it, right?
What's neat is those mofos got in the water. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
So the first video, they go out there and they saw these orcas. And they're like, oh, they took videos. Oh, this is so cool. That dude went back out the next day to that same area. And the orcas were in the same area, ironically. And they got masks on, and they jump in the water. And the homeboy is snorkeling next to the boat, and this orca is kind of coming at him. I swear, bro, I saw the video today.
No.
Yeah, and the orca's coming at him, and they're like, he's looking at you, and he scrambles back up on the boat. Dude.
I don't think so.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Orcas kill great whites.
Yeah, they eat seals,
Yeah. They could eat a
play with
human
them
in seconds.
Yeah.
No.
I remember reading a book when I was a kid, and it said there was no recorded, at the time, there was no recorded orca ever killing a human. I was like, yeah, because they're eating Eskimos off of ice floes out there, and no one knows about it because the guy's not
They're hunting humans, 100%. You see those videos where, the 4 orcas work together and knock that seal off that ice floe? That's exactly what's happening to Eskimos.
And they're super smart.
Yeah.
They're a big dolphin.
Yeah. They're the largest dolphin. I was reading a book to my kid today, and I found out a killer whale is a dolphin. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
They actually are a dolphin. It's not a whale.
Huh.
Isn't that crazy?
Member of the dolphin family?
Yeah, it's in the dolphin family.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But the kid's book that I read to my son tonight taught me that.
What I do know about orcas is I'm not getting in the water with them.
Absolutely not.
That's what I know.
I don't like gators, but I swam with gators, and it doesn't totally bother me. Sharks, I love swimming with sharks. That doesn't really bother me. But an orca,
You pay for these really nice boats that keep you dry. You just stay in them.
I like swimming with animals.
No,
It makes you feel alive.
No, thank you. I feel plenty alive right here.
All right. Let's give away our Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and we'll see if we have time for one more question. So Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Remember, if you're the winner of the swag pack, you not only have to text your address, but also your T-shirt size. Lucky winner is Dana Shepler
from Georgia.
Woodstock, Georgia. Congratulations, Dana Shepler. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address and your T-shirt size. Makes you feel alive until you're not.
That's a great.
That's a good.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment.
That's
100%.
Funny. Let's see. Well, I don't see another question yet. Josh is still writing some stuff. So, landscape conservation. So, all Florida.
Yep.
allfla.org is your website. So landscape conservation is something that I was not familiar with until I really got to know you, and you took the time to explain it to me. And you've explained a lot of stuff to me. Thank you for the whole bobcat cougar thing the other day. Panther, bobcat panther thing the other day. But what I was saying is landscape conservation. What was the quote you told me the other day? I love that quote.
Oh, I don't remember.
About the president, and if you don't treat the land...
Oh, it was Aldo Leopold.
Leopold.
He was like the father of modern conservation and basically had a thing called the land ethic. And if you take care of the land, you take care of the water. Is that the quote you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like, you take care of the land, you take care of the water. I'm paraphrasing that a little bit. But
you got to follow All Florida on Instagram. This guy is a savant when it comes to like really pretty landscape photos and good quotes. I'm like, oh, I really like that. Every time it pops up, it's really, really good. So definitely check out All Florida on Instagram because... Yeah, see, Josh is pulling it up. Pull up one of those quotes. They're all really funny. Go
afield with a good attitude. There you go.
Yeah. Go afield with a good attitude with much respect for wildlife. You hunt for the forests and fields in which you walk. Immerse yourself in the outdoors and experience it. It will cleanse your soul and make you feel as a better person.
Yeah. Like, who doesn't like that?
There's a bunch of good ones.
That's Fred Bear.
Man, look at that. Beautiful.
Yeah, we work with some incredible photographers and artists.
And you can get allflorida.org friendship bracelets.
Exactly.
Because this man is a huge Taylor Swift.
Huge Taylor Swift fan. Huge Swiftie.
Swiftie.
Huge Swiftie.
Yeah. That's real. That's not a joke either.
You
He's trying to change the subject right now.
I am, so I don't get hammered. You ask about landscape conservation. It's the idea, like people first heard that. I remember talking to Joe Simons about it, and he's like, do you mean like land conservation? And that's part of it, but it's really the idea of conservation on a macro scale. Like we tend to think of conservation in terms of a CCA or we both love CCA. Like I'm a life member. I think you are too. Like, but CCA is going to focus on fisheries. They're not going to focus on land conservation. And then when you look at development, how is development going to start to impact land, and where's that going to impact the water and where it goes, and then get into even the granular fisheries regulations or hunting regulations or whatnot. Landscape conservation is I'm going to step back and take a look at the whole board. So I tend to think like all of our species or our groups are chess pieces. And what we try to do with All Florida is take a look at the whole board. And so there's oftentimes we'll get someone that calls us and wants to make a donation or they want to work with us or whatever, and we'll actually send them to another organization because this is the group that does that. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to be really strategic about what conservation looks like in our state on a broad scale. Which is why we get into so many topics at like a commission meeting.
And that's why when I met you, I was so intrigued in that whole process because like for me, what gets frustrating for me is we work so hard on like gag grouper, offshore federal waters management, and then a big red tide event happens inshore outside of federal waters, and it kills a bunch of gag grouper babies that are going to be the next 5 years fishery. And it's super frustrating. But then when you think about landscape conservation and actually approaching it from the fact that, all right, so what happens in Orlando with these big developments paving over areas of swampland and draining swamplands and diverting these areas that were once green grass and pervious surface, naturally cleansing water as it moves into aquifer, and huge areas of pavement and just wild, outlandish growth in the state of Florida. We're seeing the detriment effects of that. And I think for me, what we've talked about and what I feel one of the big projects that I want to try to accomplish sometime in my lifetime is a look at a more responsible growth plan and renewing living shorelines and getting some sort of tax credit or payment to coastal homeowners or coastal communities or working waterfronts to offset their hardened shorelines. So like what I mean by that is what do you do when you get a house on the water? You build a seawall, you build a dock, and you rip out all the mangroves. Right. So you have a nice pretty view. And now you have a hard seawall, you have a dock, and you don't have anything to filter the water. Whereas if you want to build a dock, you have to get a dock permit. The state has to come out and make sure any shaded areas you're building over isn't going to harm seagrass beds. And in my opinion, if you want to build a dock, you should have to put in oyster balls, oyster reefs, suspended
what's Captain
Planet's?
Is that a suspended artificial reef that Garrett Stewart does?
Yeah, Garrett Stewart, Captain Planet. I forget the name of the reef.
Eco Homies is his org, if you want to check it out.
Eco Homies, great guy. But he has a subsurface reef. But I'm talking about you should have an oyster ball on the bottom with a subsurface reef above it. And then along the seawall, you should be able to plant mangroves. In today's world and the coastal communities, if you were to have a waterfront home and you plant some mangroves and they get tall, you can't just go out there and cut them. You got to hire like some special guy. You have to have a permit. You have to have all this crazy stuff. And it's like you're making it hard for homeowners to actually cleanse the water.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Yeah.
Make it easy. Give them some tax credit. Incentivize them to clean the water and create a living shoreline. And like riprap. Like if you tear down a seawall and you have all that rubble, you actually have to pay to get it out of there because they won't let you leave it there.
Right.
You should have to leave it there because it creates a nice area for growth, more oysters, more clams, more natural structure that's going to clean and filter the water. So
I started in
crazy.
I started going down that road. Someone asked about cows and algal blooms and stuff like that, and I started going down that road because, you see all of these dynamics, and I lost a bajillion trips. I think it was 2016 or 17.
Yeah.
We had a massive red
15,
tide.
16,
I was
17.
chartering in Charlotte Harbor and lost just a massive amount of trips. And what happened is we started looking at agriculture as a problem.
Yeah.
And so I started following this narrative, right? Like I started running it down. I'm okay, I'm with everybody else. And same we've had conversations about spraying before and stuff like that. And always the truth is a lot harder and a lot more nuanced than maybe just the talking points out there.
You hear the talking points of it's big agriculture, it's all the sugar farmers, it's the cow guys, it's the cattle ranchers, it's Disney, it's this, it's that, it's the natural flow of the Everglades. You hear all these people screaming whatever fits on a nice picket sign.
Exactly. And I don't want to be reductive to anybody, but at the same point, I know a bunch of ranchers. I work with ranchers, obviously, in my duck hunting operation, and every one of them loves the land. And if you like turkeys, something like 92% of turkeys, wild turkeys in North America, are produced on private lands. In Florida, that's ranches. That's where they come from. Ranchers in Florida will actually move fencing around so they can rotate cattle so that they can improve water quality following best management practices that the state has put in place. But I could go way down and talk about BMPs and cross fencing and how all that works, and it gets boring and your eyes would glaze over.
Yeah.
But it's not as simple as like, let's demonize them. Ranchers don't put fertilizer out on hay anymore.
Yeah.
They might do a small hay field, but the more they have to put out there, the more that costs them. So I know a lot of ranchers that haven't used fertilizers in years.
Yeah.
Because it costs them more money to do business that way.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And, I just think one of the ideas of landscape conservation is that you and I as people, your house is, a couple miles from here.
Yeah.
You're part of natural Florida. Like, it doesn't look like it. And I don't think you should be removed.
Yeah.
I don't think you should have to pave over where you live.
Yeah.
I think you want to behave as the community, and you want to have, birds in the sky and fish in the sea and clean water, and your kid be able to do this. Your grandkids that you don't know yet be able to do this. And that's the stuff that kind of drives me and makes me get out of bed is how can we leave this better down the road for more people?
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. It's really, really interesting, the whole approach to landscape conservation. And everybody points at these different things like we were talking about, whether it's agriculture, whether it's Disney, whether it's the Orlando growth, whether it's this or that or this or whatever. I think what you said is important, is the truth isn't always black and white. It's not always so nuanced. Yes, are there parts of agriculture that might have been a problem that might have needed to be changed or already was changed? Were there parts of certain things like big sugar? There are certain practices that were going on that weren't great, that have really, a lot of that's been dressed up and addressed. But to me, what a lot of people forget about, and I was talking to someone about, and I forget who it was, but really hit home with me and has been a big kind of talking point on my end is, dude, it's taken how many years to get where we are today?
Yeah.
We've been literally pooping where we eat and burning the state of Florida and building out of control for hundreds of years. I mean, literally hundreds of years, and now we expect some politician somewhere should be able to snap their fingers and the problem's going to be solved.
And suddenly it's solved.
You're out of your mind if you think one politician or one political group or one organization or one advocacy group can do anything. And people's like, I don't like CCA because they're not helping on water quality. How the F do you expect one organization to do that? And even if one organization could do it, you can't expect them to do it today, tomorrow, or in 5 years. It took 100 years to cause this problem, if not 200 years, if not 300 years. I mean, Florida's been around. It's one of the older states. St. Augustine is it's a fountain of youth, dog. It's been since the 1800s.
You brought up U.S. sugar or the sugar industry, and I don't want to go way into the sugar industry because my hate mail will just fill up. But one of the things that always gets kind of tossed around as a talking point there is back pumping into Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
The sugar industry doesn't have control of those pumps. The Water Management District does.
Sweat mud.
South Florida. South Florida, not Southwest. They have control of those pumps to back pump, and they only run them. I forget the date. I haven't looked at it lately, but at one point in the last year or so, it had been 5 years, and they'd run them 35 days, and it was basically testing for hurricane stuff. We just kind of follow these narratives because we always need boogeymen.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, it's really easy. It's easier to pick an enemy.
Yeah.
And then you have a fight. I can tell you right now, I think in Florida, ag is not the enemy at all. And I say that with a bias at this point. Mm-hmm. I started out without a bias.
Yeah.
Ag is not the enemy for us, man. Ag is what you look at the wildlife corridor, a hugely successful conservation plan. It's
landscape conservation.
It's dependent on ranchers. Like if the wildlife corridor is going to reach 18 million acres, it's needing ranchers to finish it.
And if you don't know what wildlife corridor is, I didn't know what it was until I met Travis and started learning about landscape conservation. But it's a really cool idea of basically creating an interstate system for wildlife.
Green infrastructure is what we call it. And it was come up with a guy from the University of Florida came up with this guy of ecological greenways up and down the state, because if you restore panthers in the Everglades, a male panther requires 200 square miles. And if his range overlaps with another one, they will often fight to the death. So if we're going to restore panthers,
that's gangster.
If you're going to have panthers come back on the landscape like we talk about a lot in the conservation world, you got to be able to have them expand outside ENP, outside Big Cypress, outside some of these ranges. And so you need them to expand north of the lake, which they've started to do in the Caloosahatchee. But you got to connect them to Ocala. You got to connect them to Apalachicola. And if we don't have these greenways for them, they're going to wander through your neighborhood and eat your dog.
Yeah.
Or get hit by a car.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors there. If black bear's been celebrated, we've had a huge recovery in black bears without an ecological greenway, and it benefits everything. It benefits white-tailed deer and quail and birds and clean water and all this other stuff that we care about.
Landscape conservation, protecting the land to then improve water quality.
Protects
and improve
everything.
Wildlife. Yeah, protects everything. Pretty awesome. So wait, a panther needs 200 square miles?
A male panther needs about 200 square miles.
That's crazy.
So yeah, and they're so dominant. They're so dominant that they will fight often to the death if they overlap with another male panther. So we've got, I think FWC says we have around 230 of these animals in the state.
230 males or 230
230 total panthers.
Oh, wow.
And so when they overlap, they're going to get in a fight unless they can expand. And then when they expand, there was one hit in Polk County last year. On the
Dude, in Orlando, when I was in college in 2012, I went out to the sticks, Mount Dora area at night to go meet this person. and I've come around this corner and down like a dirt road, and there's a freaking panther in the road. Had to be a panther. Like, obviously, from my question.
I'm skeptical right now because you asked me if it was a panther or a bobcat. But go ahead.
I knew it was
We're going to let it slide right now.
I knew it was a bobcat because of its size, first of all. But second of all, I knew this was a panther because of its size.
Okay.
I was driving a 540i BMW, and its back was above the hood of the car. Like, this thing was huge. And it just turned and looked at me, and my headlights were on. I was like, I felt like I was in a movie. I was like, is this a lion? Like, what is this animal? I didn't know what it was. And I thought I was tripping. It was crazy.
So if you get a
it finally
male,
left.
Caloosahatchee's always kind of been considered a natural border on the southwest side. If you get a male that crosses that, you also have to have a female that crosses that so they can breed. And so one of the things that the Path of the Panther documentary showed was they had a breeding pair in Babcock Ranch, which was north of the Caloosahatchee, which is the first recorded breeding pair north of that river. I don't know, in modern, the last 60 years or whatever.
Wow.
So it's pretty neat. You've seen them expand their range north, but without the corridor and without other plans and other things going on in conservation.
The Path of the Panther is a documentary, right?
Yeah, you can see it on Disney Plus. Carlton Ward, who's from right here, he's from Tampa. He's who did that.
On Disney Plus only?
It's on Disney Plus. It's on Nat Geo if they have a streaming platform.
Yeah.
So
Path of the Panther. That's cool. Let's see. We are way out of time.
Sorry, man.
Anything? No. I assumed we were gonna go late. We honestly have a lot more to talk about that we didn't get to. We got to, I think, 2 questions. So we definitely have a lot more that we could talk about. Anything else you want to add in?
No, I'm good, man.
Yeah.
It looks like you got another. Do you have another giveaway?
Yeah, we got to wrap it up. Wait. We did the 5-hour half day for 2, 10-hour all day for 2. We did our swag packs. We have to end the show by giving away our 39-hour trip for 1 lucky winner. As I mentioned, we got really good fishing going on right now. Crazy red snapper fishing all the way through end of day, August 24th. Plus, we've got plenty of opportunities for great fishing on amberjack opening up August 1st. Amberjack season ends August 24th. So you don't have much time to get a hold of your amberjack, but you got about a little more than 3 weeks. Triggerfish season opens up August 1st. It should run potentially through the end of the year. So we got lots of triggerfish opportunities coming up. So good fishing, some great weather, just extremely hot. Make sure you're staying hydrated, folks. Really, really important. Drink water the day before, the morning of, and during your trip. You can't just drink water the day of your trip. People do that. I mean,
I've started actually training not for fishing but for hunting season, and you've obviously been training up, but like I wish people would, because you will have a much better time out there if you
bring that up about training for hunting season. Our good buddy Todd Boggs, who Bearded Todd is what they call him on the boat, he fishes with us a lot, but he's a huge hunter. This year he hasn't fished it with us much because he's been hunting black bears and cougars and beavers and
like
all
in
this
Canada
crazy.
and stuff.
Yeah, he's a big bobcat hunter. He's killed a bunch of bobcats and a bunch of wild animals like that. But dude goes crazy training, like weight vest, heavy hikes through the woods, boots and full camo and like all this because he wants to be able to carry an elk out of the woods over his shoulder. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's insane, man. But it honestly makes your outdoor experience that much better. Like so we were talking about fishing, like you said, prep. Like if you know you're going to go fishing next week, try to get your 10,000 steps in a day or whatever, because you're going to feel better on the boat and drink a bunch of water between now and then. And
you got to be hydrated. Very, very important. It's going to be hot. It's going to be oppressively hot. So
have you ever had a client like have heat stroke?
Often.
Yeah, like
and it ruins the trip.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying for the client. It's terrifying for us. It's terrifying for everybody around you, and it ruins the trip for you, for everybody on the boat. And it's a really, really scary situation. Don't put yourself in that situation. Don't put your family in that situation. Don't put your friends and coworkers and us in that situation. Take care of yourself. And if you're feeling hot, go inside, cool off in the AC. You're on the Flying Hub 2, you're on the Hub, you don't have that option.
Yeah.
There's no AC, so it's even more important to be hydrated, even more important to make sure you're prepared.
Yeah, because
staying healthy.
Because as a captain, you've got to protect your customers. Like, you're responsible for their health. So like that just shuts it down, man.
Gotta be safe. So make sure you're staying hydrated for sure. Stay hydrated before your trip and come out prepared. Lots of events coming up. Again, August 27th, Bass Pro, 2 p.m. August 25th is Final Friday. We got the Bartow Ford event, 6 to 8 p.m. this Tuesday, and then Bar Fly this coming Saturday. So lots of great events coming up. Hopefully we'll be able to get Travis back here. He lives all the way over in Winter Haven, so appreciate you making the 14-hour drive over here from Polk County. Imperial Polk County.
Imperial Polk County.
Yeah. Fastest growing county in the state of Florida.
God's country.
Now we're getting carried away.
All right. Thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys having me over.
Appreciate you, man. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Hopefully we'll see you again next week. Remember, every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m., we're going to work on bringing some more guests in like Travis. Hopefully we'll have him back again sometime soon. And hopefully we'll see you out on the water sometime. Don't forget, if you're a supporter, our supporters after show is going to kick off at 8:50. So if you're in the supporters group, pop on over there. You'll have some more time with us to ask us a few more questions. And let's see who won that 39-hour fishing trip for one lucky winner. 39-hour trip for one. Then we're going to start the supporters after show, and hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode. Chris Harrell. Hey, Captain Dylan and Josh, he said you are the lucky winner of our 39-hour fishing trip for one. You got 5 minutes or less to claim it. Text us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. Hopefully we'll see you guys again next week every Sunday. Don't forget to tell a friend about the show. Don't forget to check out allfla.org and check out All Florida on Facebook, on Instagram. Make sure you follow Travis and all the great things he does. And we're both board members on the Florida Guides Association as well. That's how we met. That's how we stay involved as well. So check out the Florida Guides Association. Check out All Florida. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. See y'all.